All right, guys. Today, first of all, got some new technology on the, you know what I'm saying, working with here. We got a new a camera John for Christmas, so I'm trying that out here. I don't really know how this is gonna go. I don't know how I'm gonna export the video, get the video out and stuff, and then I think I charged it, so hopefully it don't die. Well, it shouldn't die. That'd be kind of concerning, and then all that. But that's cool. Super grateful for that, for the gift and stuff from my mom, the dad. So that's fire. But what did I want to talk about today? What's it called? What I'm going to talk about today is my current, I guess, spiritual beliefs. I think that's basically it. I mean, oh shoot. Hold up. We back? Alright. And it's fucking raining, bro. Alright. I'm someone who, funnily enough, for someone who isn't religious, I think about religion, and I won't say I'm not spiritual, but I think about spirituality, religion, and I guess a lot about ethics recently. For someone who doesn't, believe in religion, it's kind of ironic, I guess. Who's really winning? The person that submits themselves to, Allah or to God and, doesn't have to fret over it anymore. Or me, who's certainly atheist towards any known deities, but I still think about it. It still dominates my mind a lot of the time. It's a thing that I think about a lot and I consider a lot. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's important to consider religion. I think it's something that, it's one of the big things in life that you don't want to get wrong. A couple big things I don't want to get wrong in my life are mother of my kids, my wife. Coincidentally, I hope that's the same person. Career, you don't want to get that wrong. Group of people you hang around, don't want to get that wrong. And they have varying degrees of importance. But what you place your religious belief in, this is another thing. I've become more understanding that belief is not something you choose to place on things. You don't choose to believe something. You either believe it or you don't. It's not necessarily a conscious choice. It's more I heard this example, which I think is really poignant. You don't, I could say that, I don't want to get rid of all. I could say that, alright, I'm sitting in a car right now, okay? If someone put a gun to my head, I could lie and say, yeah, I don't believe that this car exists. I don't think this is I don't think this exists. This is not a real thing. The car doesn't exist. I could lie and say that. But lying proves that, one, I think the car does exist. And no matter what someone does, under no amount of duress, under no amount of thinking, can I magically make my brain not believe that the car exists. It's just impossible. It's not how your brain works. It's just impossible, I guess, right? It's an intractable problem. I can't sit here and think really hard and make me not believe in the car's existence. Now, I'm just saying that all because I don't want to come across as someone who's for a long time, I guess honestly, like I'm kind of articulating this thought right now. I haven't really thought this out, but I think for a lot of people, like for a long time, I used to think, man, I just can't believe people just choose to believe in this. Or, you know, and when I say this, I mean like mainstream religions, you know, your Christianity, Judaism, Islam, things like that. I was like, oh, I can't believe people choose to believe in this. When, you know, looking at it from a different perspective now, it's entirely plausible that these people have no choice at all. And these people, it sounds like I'm trying to ostracize myself from them or something like that. I'm not. I more mean, what the hell? Dude just flashed their lights. Maybe there's a cop up here. But I more mean that when I say like, I'm saying people are different from myself. It might not be a choice, right? It's just simple that, like, in their worldview, belief in, let's say, God is such a non-negotiable, whereas it's not a choice. It's just, yeah, God exists. This is true. Now I'm gonna fit the observations that I see. I'm gonna fit the Bible. I'm gonna fit the scripture, spiritual text, all that. I'm gonna fit. Oh yeah, dickhead. What the fuck is this guy? God, I hate people that are bad drivers, man. You're not even in the lane yet, and your turn signal's off. Oh, nice. Good job, buddy. Anyways, like, it's not if the non-negotiable is that, yes, God exists, then you're going to fit all of the issues with, like, scripture, with, you know, Old Testament, divine ethics. You might fit into the worldview that you have, which is that God exists, and you'll rationalize issues you have with the Bible and all these things, because you can't choose not to believe in God. It's, you know, that belief is solidified, and there's nothing you can do, okay? I don't know, I think that's interesting. And I think that I don't think it's, like, more plausible. I just think it's a good way, it's a way for me to understand better how some people go about and think about religion, right? Because a lot of the times, there's these people at school, they, like, sit outside the library, and they went away once the weather got cold, so I'm assuming they're gonna come back up when the weather gets all nice and stuff. But, and they just try and, like, convert you into mainly Christianity, like, different, like, groups, different people, and it's like, I like talking with them because, for me, I just like to better understand how they fit their world. Like, first, there are certainly issues with the Bible, okay? I don't think that's a very controversial take. There are issues with it, and I think it's interesting to see how different people rationalize and kind of do sometimes some lengthy mental gymnastics to make the issues fit into their worldview, which is that God exists. So I think it's interesting to see, like, yeah, maybe it's like, it doesn't seem that crazy to make a bunch of assumptions or, you know, translation changes and stuff when it's just a fact that God exists and you can't really change that belief, you know? I think that's interesting. That's all I want to say. But anyways, moving on to more like the personal side of just where I'm at right now. No, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Allah. I don't believe in Yahweh. I don't believe in the Buddha. I don't believe in, well, I believe in the historical figure of the Buddha, not the cosmic like Buddha, which is, I'm gonna, you know, I every time I think about it, I'm not sure which one it is, because there's a name for this type of Buddha. There's two different kinds of Buddhas, and I just can't remember which one is which. I just know the names. I need to make that a point to go and search that up. So let me know down below in the comments, though, if you know. It's either Shakyamuni Buddha or the Vairocana Buddha, something like that. One of them is a cosmic, like, godlike entity. The other is just like a teacher. Yeah, I don't believe in any of those. However, I am, with the ever the ever the more I live, the more, and honestly, I've just been exposed to some new arguments for a creator's existence, not necessarily like God or, okay, from now on, when I say God, I just mean, well, I'll be very clear when I'm speaking about a different type of God, but when I just say colloquially like God, what I mean is, like any mainstream figure or deity that is worshipped. Yeah, okay. What was I saying? I've heard a lot of I've been exposed to some new arguments for why there may be a creator, but I don't think that, first of all, I want to make it very clear, any religious person that wants to use any kind of creationist argument, the first thing you should say is grant them the argument that maybe a creator does exist, but any argument for just a plain creator, nothing can come from, or something can't come from nothing, therefore there had to be something presupposed to the creation of the universe, that something doesn't have to be God, right? It could be anything. So yeah, I'd always say that, if someone's reason for believing in mainstream gods is, oh, there has to be a creator, like the universe is so beautiful and fine-tuning, there has to be a creator. That doesn't mean that the creator has to be some random dude we just guessed in like a 2,000-year-old book. And I guess like the Old Testament, 4,000, 5,000 years old. Maybe younger than that, I'm not sure. But, yeah, so what is it, Malik? What has convinced you that maybe there's some bigger force? Now, I think the best argument that I've heard or that I've been exposed to recently is the contingency argument. And it just means that if instead of looking at stuff let's not consider horizontally time-wise, let's consider let's consider things vertically, if that makes sense. In one split moment of time. So if you think about kind of how, let's just think about how things are placed in the universe. Best example is just my hand is being held in this specific point, okay? It has some power to be here, okay? Let's just say that. How is my hand in this point in space-time? Well, it's being held up by my wrist, so it's borrowing, or the hand is contingent on the wrist also being in this position. Now the wrist is contingent on my arm being here, arm is contingent on my shoulder being here, shoulder, we can go back, okay, if shoulder is contingent on the body's contingent on the chair is contingent on where the car is, and then the car is contingent on, where the road is, and the road is we can keep on going. And the point is that, first of all, everything is borrowing, quote unquote, power from the next thing, as in borrowing its power to be certain places. Honestly, I don't really know that. To me, that doesn't really matter to me. But you keep on going, and eventually you get to the point where it's okay, the pavement is contingent on the ground being there. The ground is contingent on the mantle or whatever, then the crust and the mantle, and then we can go all the way down to the earth is contingent on the whole earth itself, not even just the core. It's all contingent on gravity being held at some constant value, and then we get to the point where it's okay, now what is gravity contingent on, right? That's the question. What is lending its power to gravity? What is, how is gravity being held together? We don't have an answer for that right now, from my understanding. And what gravity is contingent on, and we can go back. I think there's other things that also eventually we'll get to like a thing where we don't know what it's contingent on, then the thing that gravity is contingent on may be some higher force, some higher power, some kind of self-contingent being. That's what it comes down to, is that either there's an infinite regress of contingency where everything is, you're constantly being contingent on something else, or we get to a point where something is contingent on itself. That thing, I think, would be considered a god, not mainstream gods, but an all-powerful force. Or maybe not even all-powerful, but compared to us, would be a god. Or is something inconceivable to us, whereas the only way we could like think about it or comprehend it slightly is to think of it as some higher being or god, okay? That's basically where I'm at with my spirituality. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think that there's any order to the universe. That's another thing. I don't think that exists. I've been getting into absurdism. I don't think I've posted any videos. I think one video where I talk about absurdism, but I've been actually reading and like getting into it more. And I do think, just the relationship between religion and absurdism. Okay, quick little detour of what is absurdism. You're screaming at your phone right now or whatever. Oh my God, Maddock, what is absurdism? Absurdism is born from the disconnect between our preconceived notion of what the world should be and what we actually observe the world is. Put that in more layman's terms, the absurd is born from the moment we finally accept that the world is disordered and is not, fair, structured, organized. And it's the moment we accept that and realize that it's at odds with what we think the world should be, which is ordered, fair, and constructed, I guess. Okay. Simplifying that one more layer. Give an example. It's basically when one day after you've just worked, 6 years, you've just been doing the same routine. This could be even longer. 12 years, 20 years, 25 years. You've been doing the same routine every single day. You have like occasional fun on the weekends, but you wake up at like 7:45 every day. Get up, brush your teeth, have a crappy breakfast of like no honey Cheerios, just plain Cheerios. That's straight ass, and you're just like, why the hell am I doing this? But it's because like, I don't know, you saw that like it's better for your health. And then you get to the office at 9 a.m. You sit there, do jack, you just do boring ass work, blah, 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 blah. And then you go home at 5 after eating and then you come home, you have like a TV dinner, you reheat it, it's kind of shit, but it's like whatever, it's okay. And then you watch some TV, it's like slop, but it just gets you through the night, and then you go to bed, and then you wake up and you do the same thing over and over and over again. The absurd is when one day you wake up and you just go, what is happening here? And you have a moment where it's just boom, right there, split moment. You're just like, whoa, what is happening? I thought life was going to be a little bit different, right? And you realize this is absurd. What I'm doing is absurd. Like this doesn't make sense. There is no bigger meaning here. There is no order to the life I'm living. There is no order to the universe that I'm living in or inhabiting. That is the absurd right there. Boom. That's the absurd. Okay. If that don't make sense, ask ChatGPT. Okay. Moving on. What I think, or what I find interesting, is that the intersection between religion and the absurd is that people who are religious will probably never have that wake up moment, right? Because the religion does a lot to answer these questions of like fairness, right? Now, religions have a difficult time answering the question of evil, right? Like, that's just a fact. I mean, I don't know. If you think I'm talking on my butt there, then fine, okay. We don't have to answer the question of evil. I think that's a little too... That's just me like shitting on religion. I don't want to do that. Because I have a deep respect for people that believe. Because like I said, I mean, it's not a choice really. It's kind of just what they hold to be true, and it's not necessarily a choice. And also, I just think that a lot of religious people are very cool and have a lot of like, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Just gonna put it like that. So yeah. But yeah, what I was saying is that people who are, very religious will probably not have this absurd moment of waking up one day and like, what am I doing? And the reason for that is because religions do a lot of work to make the universe seem organized, right? It's like imagine you were like, we're tasked with this problem. You were told, look, man, the universe we have, or I'll just say the world we have. Imagine no religions exist. But our world is mostly the same, right? Society operates the same ways. It's just people are all atheists, and it's not that big a deal. It's all we've ever known, okay? And you get told, okay, look, a lot of people are having this problem where they wake up one day and they feel this absurdness, okay? And you have an understanding of what the absurd is, and you're told, figure out a solution to it. And you sit down and you think, okay, well, the universe or the world we have, I mean, these people are right, like, it's not really ordered. It's not, like, fair. Like, bad people end up with good things, and good people end up with bad things. It doesn't really make sense. And, sometimes good people get good stuff, and sometimes bad people get bad stuff, but it's not like karma is really working here. It doesn't seem, fair. And you're like, okay, well, how do I make people okay with this? Like, how do I fix this problem? I can't change how the world works. I can't really change the universe. But what maybe you can do is create a story. I don't want to say story, but a story which explains it all away. It's like, well, bad person, maybe they have good stuff in this lifetime, but let's say you create Hinduism and the idea of samsara of reincarnation, and you say, but next life that dude's going to be an ant, so it's okay. And people, everyone believes that now, and you're like, and now they don't feel absurd because the world now seems ordered, right? Even though, the evidence for reincarnation maybe is not that big, but people sit down and are like, yeah, this makes sense. Now there seems to be some broader concept of karma, which, I mean, Hinduism heavily incorporates. So yeah, you imagine you invented karma. And now all these religious people are like, don't feel the absurd because it's not absurd, right? The world is now ordered because of the religious ideology they now have. And you could do that with like Christianity as well. Like, I might be homeless and have no money and nowhere to eat, nowhere to sleep, all of that, right? But it's going to be fine, it's whatever, because I believe in God. I've asked Jesus for for forgiveness. I've, taken communion and all that. So when I die, I'm going to go to heaven, so I don't care anyways, it's fine. And they're never going to have this feeling of absurd, because why would it be absurd when they are seeing, and I think this is the important part, they are seeing the world, like the observed world that they see is what they expect, right? The absurd is born from observing a world in which you do not expect to happen, right? You expected an ordered world, you don't observe an ordered world. But a Christian would expect to see evil because of the fall of man, we are born into sin, and they would expect to see sinful people. And and they're not surprised when, some evil people don't, get forgiveness and whatnot. And they believe that when they die, they're going to be reimbursed for all of the, if Christianity wasn't true, then they, all the things that kind of seem like ridiculous or unfair or not ordered, if that makes sense. But to them, they wouldn't feel the absurd because they're seeing the world that they would expect. Which I just think is interesting. I just think that the more you look at it, religion just serves as a tool. I don't want to say like herd the masses. I don't think that, I'd have to look more into like the historicity behind religions and stuff. But I don't think it was like I think some people believe like religion was created by the elite, rich people, and it's used to, herd the masses to do whatever they want. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if you look at like how religions develop, it's mainly to explain, broader phenomenon that we couldn't explain at the time, and we use kind of religion and religious tools, and I guess somewhat like spiritual tools to explain that, right? I think if you look at, I think my favorite example of this is that the Egyptian deity, or like, I don't even know if it was Egyptian, or the Egyptian deity for the Nile River was a super, super chilled like god, like very good, very, kind, nice, warm, chill, dude or girl, I can't remember. And that coincides perfectly with how the Nile acted. The Nile was, ordered. It came the right time. It, was plentiful, helped them grow, and basically, was the key to the Egyptian civilization being, one of the most well-maintained, the Egyptian culture being one of the longest-lasting ancient civilizations. And then you look at like the deities for the Tigris and the Euphrates. Horrible, mean, angry deities. And these are both rivers as well, and the rivers were, angry rivers. They weren't, ordered, they weren't nice, they didn't really help with crops and stuff. And you look at it, it's like, yeah, it kind of seems like these, old people, these like ancient civilizations were just using the deity to explain, why the river acts a certain way. It's like, they couldn't do like geographical analysis and be like, yeah, this is why the Nile acts like this, and this is why the Euphrates acts like this, right? They couldn't really do that. But so instead they invented some deity to be like, yeah, look, the god that controls this river is very angry and stuff. That makes sense. Like low key, like, what do you expect? The god's an angry god. This is just what's gonna happen. And I think that's partially probably what's done with religion and the absurd. That was the inventors of Christianity, like Jesus, I don't know, Paul and John, Mark, all those guys, the disciples, were they consciously saying like, yeah, we got to solve the issue of the absurd? No, because absurdism was coined in like, I don't know, early 1900s. Not like they knew what that was. But sure, they were probably like, without them knowing, were probably searching for answers to, they were searching for reasons why the world is the way it is, and the solutions they made up were, I would say by modern standards, not hard to defend, but for the time period where it's more accepted, we had less tools and we had less scientific knowledge and stuff like that. The answers the disciples came up with was, accepted and then, spread from that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a broader point with that. I just think that it's just interesting how that happens. I think, I don't know. I don't really have a lot more to say here. I don't know, man. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, just to reiterate, like, where I'm at. I don't believe in any mainstream religion. I don't think I ever will. But I do think that there is a possibility that there was some sort of preeminent being to our universe. Maybe, sure. Or there is some force that we do not know of. And I say force in like the very broad sense. Some like force that is self-contingent and props up our world, our universe. That to me seems plausible, if not plausible, possible. So yeah. And then I guess I did want to just talk about quickly like my ethical thought process recently. I'd coin myself as a virtue / emotive. Wait. How do I word this? I can't think of the right words. Emotive ethicist? Is that the term? Ethical emotivist. That's what it is. Like I like my beliefs for ethics seem to be crossed with ethical emotivism and virtue ethics. I do think it is, I don't know, something about being a virtuous person resonates with me. Like, I think it's something that people should strive for, and I do think it's doable. But I also do understand how a lot of ethics does seem to be subjective to me, where it's just simply a sort of emotional reaction to certain, like, issues. I think the most famous one is, like, incest. Almost everyone has a very, like, an emotional response to it, where it's, yeah, incest is bad. Like, brother, sister, that's bad. But if you look at it, like, if you said, okay, imagine the brother and sister they were like twins and they were separated at birth, never knew each other, never interacted with each other, didn't have the same last name, everything, no idea. And then they met in like a bar in their like 20s and they just fell in love and stuff. Most people would still would be like, no, that's just wrong. But if you like looked at it very objectively, you would be like, no, it's really not. It kind of just like they're at the point of these like siblings meeting, they're not siblings. They are just two people that happen to like have the same birthday or whatever. And I think that's an issue that is solved by ethical emotivism, which I like. I think that sometimes you just have a feeling that something is wrong and you don't do it. And I do think that that's also kind of crossed with the virtue part, where the virtuous person probably just doesn't, have incest. I mean, I don't know. But I guess that's where I'm at. Let me know down below in the comments what ethical framework you guys are using in your life day to day. Just, God, I'm such a clown, dude. People don't think like this. Like, that's another thing. I do think that the virtue ethics and the ethical emotivism is probably like the two systems that are used by people without them even knowing it. Like, a lot of people probably just act with just like a gut feeling. It's like that gut feeling. You're like, you know what? I'm going to give the homeless dude $5. I just got a gut feeling about it. And maybe they don't always give $5 to the homeless dude, but they just got a feeling this one time, and that's what made them act. And they're like, I did a good thing, and it's just because they succumbed to their emotion to do that. Or they just act purely from instinct, and if that instinct happens to also be the general consensus of what virtue is in that moment, then that person is practically acting from virtue and is without them even knowing, being a virtuous person, and they're acting in accordance with virtue ethics. So I think that's also the reason why it's appealing to me, because I think that philosophy and ethics and things like that is just so arbitrary. No, not arbitrary. It is, but that's not what I want to say. It's so like, I hate using this word because it just sounds pretentious, but it's very esoteric, where it's like, it's just hard to access, I feel like. It's not coming from a place like, oh, like, I'm so smart, only I can understand, and I'm, yeah, fucking, orating to you guys and, like, dumbing it down for you. Like, that's not true at all. I think that the root concepts are super basic and are very easy to understand, with the right person guiding you. But I think that ethics can be like very easily in philosophy writ large. No, that's not the right word. You know, in philosophy in like a broader sense can be very easily complicated for no reason. And I think that I find that all the time, and I think it's annoying. But I do think that it's a very useful tool for people. But, you know, it's whatever. But yeah, I think that, you know, I kind of was like, oh, I hate myself. Not hate myself. I was like, oh, I'm so stupid. Because people don't think like this, right? Like, people don't stop, you know, before they walk into the Five Guys and think, what would the virtuous person do? People just act. People just do. People don't think as much as I do, I think. Again, not like a diss. I think that those people are smarter than me. But it's like, I don't know, now I just can't stop thinking. I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm not concerned, but I'm like, man, I really got to get my shit together and just start acting instead of sitting here doing all this. But I don't know. Don't really have anything else to say. Just don't believe in God. Maybe there is some higher self-contingent force out there that is propping up the universe. And maybe they also like jump-started the universe to begin with. I'm like an ethical emotivist crossed with like a virtue ethicist. That's me. And then religion is used a lot, I think, to answer questions we don't have answers to. And one of those is, what is the absurd? And religions seem to solve the question for what is the absurd, because they just like, oh, this is what the absurd is. No, sorry. They don't allow the absurd to be born because the observed world is in consensus with the expected world from a religious worldview. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. That's all I really wanted to say. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna see, like, hopefully the video comes out good and I can like export it and stuff and it looks good. But let me know down below if it sounds good and looks good. But yeah, peace out.